It's Tuesday night, October 17, about 7:20 in the evening. We're getting our first view of the 7750 to 7799 series of NGC studies. And of course, if this is the first view in the first sequence, this is NGC 7750. Very nice galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 12.9. Presented obliquely perfectly, 1.6 by 0.8 arc minutes, spiral with a bar, a lowercase c, and some peculiarities, which hopefully we can note in the image. It's 130 million light years distant, and it's at plus almost 4 degrees, and we are now after the 23rd hour and 45 minute of right-ascension. And I like the view of what I am seeing on the screen. Given the time, 8:20, 8:25, these studies aren't exactly culminating. I would say they're off by some 30 degrees to the east. However, this should give us an opportunity to see some galaxies and studies further north, because I have been getting some aperture blocking if I start later in the evening, at the cost, of course, of studies further south. So let's just put a little more emphasis on this. In fact, I have 2 sessions planned for tonight because I can't be sure about the weather. I also hope to finish up the NGC catalog tonight in terms of its highest indexed member. What we're seeing here is NGC 7751, a galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 12.8, perfect 1 by 1 arc minutes. It's a spiral 147 million light years distant, plus 7 degrees. And what should be of note is this galaxy at magnitude 12.8 and presented by 1 by 1 arc minute means that its average surface brightness is, in fact, I'd fill in the blank, 12.8. And it should kind of burn it into your memory to get an idea of what a 1 arc minute sized average surface brightness 12.8 magnitude galaxy looks like. As I might have mentioned, one of the virtues of starting a little earlier is I'm going to be able to go farther north without aperture blocking. Right now we're at plus 29.5 degrees. I suspect I could get as far north as 40 degrees if by observing earlier in the evening. Once again, I'll reiterate, that means we're going to lose some things to the deep south. This is NGC 7752, a galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 14.3, 0.9 by 0.5 arc minute spiral with a bar, and it has an N attached to it, whatever that means. 226 million light years distant. It's at plus 29.5 degrees, as previously mentioned. Very nice look. Here we have NGC 7753, another galaxy in Pegasus. Very close to the last one, should be on the screen. Slightly brighter, magnitude 12, 2.9 by 1.9 arc minutes, spiral with a bar and lowercase bc. 234 million light years distant, puts this probably larger than Messier 31, maybe almost 200,000 light years. And as I said, we are pretty far north with plenty of headroom left to go. And if I sight along this scope, I can see we are looking, I believe, towards Alpheratz, but within the great square of Pegasus. Well, here's the price we pay. NGC 7754 is a galaxy further south in Aquarius at minus 16.5 degrees. Its magnitude 15, smallish, 0.6 by 0.3, obliquely presented spiral with a lowercase a. 335 million light years distant, puts this at about 60,000 light years in diameter. NGC 7754. And it sure does look like there's other galaxies on the screen as well. Well, here's the view you get in Scutum when you drop down to about 25 degrees below the celestial equator, especially since we're still about, I would say, an hour and 15 minutes before culmination. This is the price we're paying for getting an early start. NGC 7756, galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 14.5 by 0.2 arc minutes. Pretty tiny. just listed as a spiral, 132 million light years distant. It's at plus 4 degrees. I would say its size is roughly 40 to 50,000 light years in diameter. Well, clearly NGC 7756 was a satellite galaxy, if I had noticed the distance correctly. I think they were pretty much the same. Of NGC 7757, another galaxy in Pisces. Brighter, magnitude 12.7, larger, 2.4 by 1.7 arc minutes, 136 million light years distant. I'd say this one's probably about 120,000 light years in diameter, at least twice as large as 7756. It's also at plus 4 degrees above the celestial equator. Not expecting much here. While we're not in Sculptor, we are in very southern Aquarius. NGC 7758 is a galaxy, magnitude 14.4, 0.7 by 0.5 arc minutes. However, this spiral, lenticular type with a bar, is 584 million light years distant. I would suspect its size is somewhere around 130,000 light years across. It is at minus 22 degrees, and I'm not sure if anything's turning up on the screen, but I want to get those further north ones, and later on tonight I want to finish up the NGC catalog series so I can start working with 1 on the next moon, NGC 1. So let's keep pushing the limits. Well, we've jumped up maybe 5 degrees to minus 16.5. This is NGC 7759, a galaxy in Aquarius. Magnitude 14, 1.3 by 0.9 arc minutes. Football-shaped galaxy, spiral with a bar. It's a lenticular, 327 million light years distant. Puts it about 130,000 light years in diameter. It is located at minus 16.5 degrees declination, and we can live with that view. And the virtue of starting a bit earlier, pre-culmination, is NGC 7760, a galaxy in Pegasus. Magnitude 13.4, another pure 1 by 1 arc minutes in size. This is an elliptical galaxy, 221 million light years distant. It's at plus 31 degrees, and I would estimate its size to be somewhere around 75,000 light years in diameter. NGC 7761 is a galaxy in Aquarius, minus 13.5 degrees, magnitude 14, face on 1.2 by 1.2 lenticular spiral, 315 million light years distant. Puts it at about 110,000, maybe 120,000 light years in diameter. Pretty good look. NGC 7762 was an open cluster. I didn't really want to push it. It was in Cepheus at plus 60 degrees. Speaking of Cepheus, the Milky Way looked pretty darn nice, spanning from Perseus through Cassiopeia and Cepheus into Cygnus. So the night sky is very, very attractive this evening for downtown John Day. This is NGC 7763, a galaxy in Aquarius, magnitude 15.5, 0.7 by 0.4 arc minutes, lenticular spiral, some 245 million light years distant, puts it at about 60,000 light years in diameter. It's at minus 16.5 degrees. We are now 10 arc minutes from the 0 hour of right-ascension. If I said 10 arc minutes from the 0 hour, I actually meant 10 minutes, which is basically 1/6 of 15, or about 2 degrees of space. NGC 7765 is a galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 14.5, face on 0.7 by 0.7, spiral with a bar and a ring. The ring would be beyond us because it would probably be somewhere around magnitude 18.5. The galaxy is 338 million light years distant, so it's about 70,000 light years across. It's at plus 27 degrees in declination. And the sky looks very nice up there. It would appear that NGC 7765 has a neighbor, 7766. Galaxy in Pegasus, fainter, magnitude 15.7, small, 0.5 by 0.2 arc minutes, considered a compact galaxy. 354 million light years distant, and it's at plus 27 degrees. And by a compact, that means pretty much all the light is congested around, let's just say, a no parking zone in the galaxy. Downtown New York City. Well, it would appear that NGC 7765 and 66 have a neighbor. NGC 7767, Galaxy in Pegasus, the brightest of the three, magnitude 13.5, 1 by 0.2 arc minutes, so it should be pretty edge on. 358 million light years distant puts it at about the size of our Milky Way galaxy. It's at plus 27 degrees in declination. Should be interesting to plot out where those three galaxies are actually located, if they in fact share the same field of view. If you've gotten accustomed to that field, now it's 4 galaxies in a row. NGC 7768 is another galaxy in Pegasus, the brightest of them all so far. Magnitude 12.3, largest 1.6 by 1.3 arc minutes. It's an elliptical 363 million light years distant. It's at plus 27 degrees. And I would say we have found another version, and perhaps a brighter version, of Stephan's quintet. And there may be very well be other fainter galaxies in this field of view. What I like about the seeing tonight and starting with the constellations a little lower is that I actually get to look up at the night sky and see the great square of Pegasus ascending towards the zenith. Here we have NGC 7769, a galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 12, fairly large, 1.6 by 1.6 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase b, 190 million light years distant. That puts it about the size of our Milky Way. It's at plus 20 degrees in declination. Ooh, I'm seeing an edge on in the same field. I sure hope we pick that one up as well. NGC 7770, galaxy in Pegasus, a neighbor of 69, magnitude 13.8, 0.8 by 0.7 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase a, 186 million light years distant, and once again, plus 20 degrees in declination. Wow. It cannot be that edge on because 0.8 by 0.7 is small, so that must be the capital galaxy of the system, that edge on we're seeing right there, almost in the middle of the field. NGC 7771, galaxy in Pegasus, should be that nearly edge on galaxy, and yet it's more oblately defined in terms of its size. Magnitude 12.3, 2.4 by 1.1 arc minutes, spiral with a bar, lowercase a, 191 million light years distant, and right there at plus 20 degrees in declination, we are proceeding slowly in this last series of galaxies, kind of towards the left-hand side of the screen, but that may not last any longer. Well, we're going to take a break from galaxies with NGC 7772. This is an open cluster in Pegasus, smallish, 2 arc minutes in size. It's a Roman numeral 3, 1, 3 meaning the stars are fairly spread apart, and the numeric 1 meaning they're all roughly of the same magnitude. The cluster is located 4,900 light years distant, further south in the last series of galaxies at plus 16 degrees in declination. A little bit of a wonder in our own Milky Way galaxy. Still within the Great Square is NGC 7773, galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 13.4, face on 1.2 by 1.2 arc minutes, spiral with a bar, lowercase bc, 379 million light years distant, puts it at probably at around 110, 120,000 light years in diameter. I think this is as farthest we've been north yet. We're at plus 31 degrees, and I think we still have some headroom. NGC 7774 is another galaxy in Pegasus. further towards the south at plus 11.5 degrees. The galaxy is magnitude 13.1, 1.3 by 1.2 arc minutes in size. It is an elliptical, probably maybe a little smaller than our own Milky Way, maybe 90,000 light years across. So there is our look at 7774. NGC 7775, turning the corner now, is a galaxy once again in Pegasus. Magnitude 13.3, 0.9 by 0.8 arc minutes, 304 million light years distant. About the size of the Milky Way. It's at plus 20, almost 29 degrees in declination. Dropping south to minus 13.5 degrees and into the constellation of Aquarius, the water carrier. NGC 7776, a galaxy. Faintish, magnitude 15.4, but quite apparent on the screen. 0.9 by 0.3 arc minutes in size. 316 million light years distant, maybe a little bit smaller than our Milky Way. As I said, minus 13.5 degrees. Magnitude 15.4, looking pretty brisk up there for that magnitude. However, it should probably be this one here, not that one. That one we may have turned up earlier, or because it is further west than NGC 7776. Just had the usual evening mount runaway. Well, inevitably we were going to roll 4 sevens. NGC 7777, galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 13.3, 1.2 by 0.8 arc minute size football-shaped spiral of the lenticular class, 315 million light years distant. It's probably about the size of our own Milky Way, maybe a little larger. It's at plus 28 degrees in declination. We still have 7 more minutes of right ascension before the 0 hour. And a second mount runaway. NGC 7778, a galaxy in Pisces, brightish. Magnitude 12.7, another perfect 1 by 1 arc minute size elliptical, 237 million light years distant, probably about 75,000 light years in diameter. It's at plus 8 degrees in declination. Possibly within the same field as 7778 is NGC 7779, another galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 12.7, larger than 8, 1.4 by 1.1 arc minute, spiral with a lowercase a, 232 million light years distant, probably a little bit larger than our own Milky Way. It's at plus almost 8 degrees in declination. Not too far from NGC 7779 is 80, but it's outside the field. It's a galaxy in Pisces. Magnitude 13.9, 0.9 by 0.5 arc minutes, spiral with a bar and a lowercase ab, 232 million light years distant. I'd estimate it's about 80,000 light years in diameter. It's at a little more than 8 degrees northern declination. Possibly in the same field as NGC 7780 is NGC 7781, galaxy Pisces, magnitude 13.9, kind of edgy on 0.8 by 0.2 arc minutes, simply classed as a spiral, 255 million light years distant, probably about 80,000 light years in diameter. It's at almost plus 8 degrees in declination. Once again, possibly in the same field as NGC 7781 is NGC 7782. Galaxy Pisces, magnitude 12.2, larger, 2.2 by 1.3 arc minutes. So oblately presented spiral with a lowercase b, 242 million light years distant. This one's about as large as the Great Andromeda Galaxy at 150,000 light years in diameter. It's at plus almost 8 degrees in declination. NGC 7783A is peculiar because it's not associated with 83. It's a galaxy in Pisces, quite distant, or at least 8 degrees distant from our last galaxy, 82. Its magnitude 14.1, 1.3 by 0.6 oblately presented spiral of the lenticular type, 351 million light years distant, probably puts it at about 110,000 light years in diameter. It's at pretty much right on the celestial equator, and we're about 6 minutes of degree of angle from the 0 hour. Mystery solved. There is an NGC 7783b neighboring 83A. It's a galaxy in Pisces, once again, fainter, magnitude 15, smaller, 0.7 by 0.5 arc minutes, lenticular spiral, 355 million light years distant, probably something around 75,000 light years in diameter. It's at right along the celestial equator and should share the field with A. I'm kind of wondering, did you notice there was also an NGC 7783c galaxy in the field? Once again in Pisces. Now this one's faint and small, magnitude 16.3 by 0.3 arc minute, lenticular spiral. It is obviously nowhere near these other two galaxies, probably as far away from them as we are from them as well. 651 million light years, and it's right along the celestial equator. This must be a pretty intense galaxy given that distance and that size. I would say it's probably somewhere around 60,000 light years in diameter. Made the leap north into Pegasus to NGC 7784 galaxy. Faint, Tish, magnitude 15.5, 0.5 by 0.5 arc minutes in size. It's a compact, 350 million light years distant, so it's about half the size, 50,000 light years across as the Milky Way. It's at plus almost 22 degrees. We have 5 more minutes before we get to 0 hour. Down swimming with the fishes, NGC 7785 is a galaxy in Pisces, bright. Magnitude 11.6, 2 by 1.3 arc minute sized elliptical, 172 million light years distant, puts it about the size of our own Milky Way. It's at plus almost 6 degrees in declination. NGC 7786 is another galaxy in Pegasus. Magnitude 13.1, smallish, 0.6 by 0.4, spiral, 195 million light years distant, at plus 21.5 degrees in declination. Back down to the celestial equator in Pisces, NGC 7787, magnitude 14.2, but largish, 1.8 by 0.5 arc minute, spiral with a lowercase a, some 299 million light years distant, puts this one at about the size of the Great Andromeda Galaxy. It's, like I said, right along the celestial equator. For no good reason, I went to NGC 7789 in Cassiopeia. It's an open cluster, magnitude 6.7, 16 arc minutes, 300 stars, brightest are magnitude 10.7. I do believe this is one of my favorite clusters, but we're not going to get to see any of it. It's a class Roman numeral 2, 1, 6,800 light years distant. It's at plus 56 degrees. I think the scope is completely blocked, not even an inch of aperture on it. But it is a lovely cluster if it's the one I think it is. Skipping at least one other open cluster in Cassiopeia, we're now at NGC 7792 galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 15, 0.8 by 0.8 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase b. Distant, 568 million light years distant. I would say this is about 150,000 light years across, just like Messier 31. It's at plus 16.5 degrees. We are now 2 minutes shy of the 0 hour. Did another drop down into Sculptor. No luck. This is like minus 30 degrees in declination. But there is a galaxy down there for anyone who gets a look at it. It's beauty. Magnitude 9.1, 9.6 by 6.4 arc minutes. Spiral with a lowercase z, c, diffuse. Says that, yeah, magnitude, wonder what, oh, it's 11.4 million light years distant, but probably not within our own local group of galaxies. It's minus 32.5 degrees. Maybe I'll come back to it if it has a chance to culminate later this evening. So that was NGC 7793. NGC 7794 is way a bit further north at plus 10, almost 11 degrees declination. A galaxy in southern Pegasus, magnitude 12.5, 1.5 by 1.4 arc minutes, a spiral with a lowercase bc, 237 million light years distant, so it's probably about 120,000 light years across. As I mentioned, it's at plus almost 11 degrees, and we are within 1.5 minutes of the 0 hour. NGC 7797 is a galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 13.7, 1 by 0.9 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase bc, 395 million light years distant, probably puts it around 115,000 light years in diameter. It's at plus 3.5 degrees in declination. NGC 7798, a galaxy in Pegasus, could be our penultimate view for the evening. Magnitude 12.4, 1.4 by 1.3 arc minutes, 105 million light years distant, probably about 60,000 light years across. It's at plus almost 21 degrees. We are within 30 seconds of the 0 hour. Well, I can't be sure that there's going to be another one within range. Let's press the next button and see what it says. Galaxy in Pegasus is next, so this is not our Carpe Noctem view. NGC 7798. Now let's watch this next one develop. This is going to be NGC 7799. It's an excellent sky position. There's no blockage of the aperture. We're at 31 degrees in terms of declination positive, 23 hour, 59 minutes and 20 seconds. Now here's the interesting thing. NGC 7799 is a galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 16.4, 0.8 by 0.3 arc minutes. See if we can pick it out on the screen. It's a spiral with a lowercase c. 221 million light years distant. I'd say it's probably about 75,000 light years in diameter. And as mentioned, it's some 40 seconds shy of the 0 hour, and it's at plus 31 degrees 17 minutes. Magnitude 16.4 galaxy should be detectable at these settings: 128 flood, 42 decibels of auto gain control. And probably the best way to have picked it out is to watch this video right here, this last segment of our video, our Carpe Noctem segment, as the galaxy began to form very, very subtly on the screen. So, Carpe Noctem.